and welcome back to the Ultimate Business Course. Today we're going to be looking at your market research. We're going to be learning about your customers, how to identify them, how to connect with them, to find their pain points, and how to write a very clear customer profile. The terms customer profile, target audience, ideal customer, avatar, they're all interchangeable. They all mean the same things. So if you are talking to somebody in the business world and they mention one of those terms, then they are pretty much referring to the same thing. What it boils down to is who is buying from your business. Those are your target audience. That is the customer profile that we want to build up. We want to get to really understand the people who will be coming and spending their hard-earned money in your business. And so that's what we want to look at today. Let's kick off with a quote. I absolutely love quotes, and so let's kick off with this one by the founder of Starbucks, Howard Schultz. He said, "Great companies that build an enduring brand have an emotional relationship with customers that has no barrier. And that emotional relationship is on the most important characteristic, which is trust." Now, market research is the gathering of the customer's needs and their preferences, and it's really important that when you're pitching your business, you are doing it from a position of wanting to meet your customers' needs and preferences, not from the position of wanting to get from your customers, not wanting to get their money. And so it's very important that you are positioning yourself from that point of matching their needs, their preferences, their pains with what you have to offer. And so your market research will be leaning towards finding out exactly what they really want, what they really need, and what their preferences really are. And you may be very pleasantly surprised with some of your results, and you may also be quite surprised by some of the results in that it might not be exactly what you thought it would be. And so customer research, market research is really, really important. It's an important part of your business. You need to understand who's going to be buying from you and then connect with them effectively. Some of the ways to conduct market research is very simply to run a survey. You want to find out exactly who's buying what, why, and when, and so you just conduct a survey with some key questions, asking them about themselves, their needs, their preferences. So let's take a look at some suggested survey questions. What factors do you consider when purchasing this? And then this is where you list your product or service. So every time I say product or service, insert your product or service there. What do you like or dislike about similar product or services on the market? What areas would you suggest for improvement? What is the appropriate price for a list your product or service? What features do you look for when purchasing a similar product or service? What specific benefits do you look for in your product or service? What problems motivate you to purchase your product or service? What needs are you trying to meet when you purchase your product or service? How do you hope your product or service will make your life better? And so these are some of the questions that you could put in your survey. And you could really drill down and find out what it is that your ideal customers are looking for, and hopefully you can find a match between their need and what you have to offer. A great website for running surveys is www.surveymonkey.com. It's a fantastic resource where there's a free version, there's a paid version, and the free version does the job beautifully, but you can get a lot more analytics and a lot more analysis of your data with the paid version. SurveyMonkey also offers some guide questions specific to your industry. So where I just read the questions to you a minute ago that you can use, you can also go to SurveyMonkey and you can choose their preset questions to kickstart your survey. So for example, if you're in the events business and you want to run a survey around your events business, then you would simply go to SurveyMonkey and select the events option, and then it would suggest a whole lot of questions for you around the events industry, and they're actually really, really good. So I do recommend that. Another way that you can do your market research is to create a forum or a focus group. So you get particular people together and you sit and brainstorm and discuss your product or service. You have a good in-depth look at what people think about it, ask them questions and tailor your questions according to how the conversation goes. This is a fantastic way to do your market research because then you are directly engaging with the feedback and can ask questions relevant to whatever's feeding back to you right then and there. It's a great way to also introduce your product or service to people, because in the focus group they would have to then perhaps know your product or service. So you could first ask questions, then introduce it, and then ask questions around it, for example. And so not only are they providing with valuable feedback, but they're also having first-hand experience of your product or service. And again, that's a whole group of people who have now encountered your business. Another way that you can do market research is to gather statistics. Now, there's an awful lot available on the internet. You can research just about anything and find statistics on just about anything if you get your search criteria right. So definitely do some internet research and find statistics. But be very careful that they're a reliable source. So check the source of the statistics and also check that the survey was conducted over a large group of people. You wouldn't want to rely on statistics that were perhaps conducted in a survey of 5 people, for example. You really want to make sure that these are reliable statistics from a reliable source. But there is so much that you can find out on the internet, and also you can run some polls or surveys on social media. Some of the types of market research you might want to do is very quick market research, and by quick I don't mean rushed. By quick I mean some people don't really want to fill in a long detailed form, and so you're less likely to get as many results or as many responses back from sending out these detailed surveys. But what you might find is if you do a poll on Facebook, for example, with just a simple tick box of options, and you share that in various groups and ask others to share it, you could very quickly just get the general idea of what people are thinking about your product or service, and you can run these quite regularly. Another thing that you can do in your market research is have tasters, and then ask people to fill in a questionnaire afterwards. So you could potentially get permission to put up a stand in the town centre, wherever you live, and you could run real tasters there and get people's opinion. I don't know if you're aware of the story of how Innocent Smoothies did their market research. It's a fantastic story, and it's about how they decided whether or not to quit their day jobs and go into the Innocent Smoothie business full time. So what they did was they pitched a tent. I believe it was at a festival, I'm not 100% sure, but it was a place where there were a lot of people, and they gave away free bottles of their Innocent Smoothie to people who were coming by to taste this brand new product. And then what they did was they had 2 bins. They had a yes, quit your day job bin, and they had no, don't quit your day job bin. And basically, after people had had a drink of the smoothie, they could decide if they liked it or not, and then they would place the empty juice bottle into one of the bins. And at the end of the event, they could see which bin was most filled up, and based on that, they made their decision to quit their day jobs and go full-time into Innocent Smoothies. And they've done very many other quirky things since then and created this fantastic, fun brand around really good quality fruit smoothies. And so that's a little bit of an interesting, creative way of doing it. And you could do something similar. You could come up with all sorts of different ways to do market research to see how people are seeing your business, how perceptive they are, how much they like or dislike it. And don't be discouraged if the results come back and they're not what you want them to be. It doesn't matter how they come back or what the results are. What matters is that you now have data and you can act accordingly. So when you get your results back, don't just give up on your business because it's not what you wanted and say, oh, well, that's it, no one likes me, I'm shutting shop. That'll be ridiculous. Even if it's a negative response or not the response you wanted, you now have that valuable information to make the necessary changes and then go out and do more market research until you really feel that people are responding well to what you have to offer. So please spend time on your market research. It is really, really important because these are the people that are potentially going to be buying from you. If you don't understand their needs, how are you going to serve their needs? If you don't understand what they really want, how are you going to get them to part with their money? So you really have to consider your market research, your target market. It is very revealing, and in time you will really start to value that sort of feedback, and you will do it not only at startup stage but at various stages in your business development. Even when you just want to launch a new product or service, you'll go through the same market research process to find out if this new product or service is relevant or if it's being pitched in the right way. You don't want to only rely on the internet. That's not going to give you a very accurate view of the market, and that's not going to give you the whole picture, because not everybody is going to leave their opinion on the internet. Another big mistake with market research is not conducting the research over enough numbers. So if you only, like I said earlier, just ask 5 people for their feedback, that's not going to give you a very accurate view. And then the third top mistake is only relying on people that you know. So don't just ask friends and family or people close to you what they think. Yes, their feedback is valuable, but you really need to do your market research across a wide group of people, various backgrounds, or if you are quite clear on your target audience, then really pitch your research to a large number of your target audience. Another way that you can conduct your market research is to gather information from past sales. So if you already are up and running in your business and you have history, then that's a fantastic way to do your market research as well, in addition to these other methods. So you'll go back and you'll look at where every single past sale has come from. And if you have collected that data, that's brilliant, because now you can just analyze it. You can see where it's come from. You can maybe get in touch with them and ask them a few key questions, and you can use this data to conduct your market research. That it will be very revealing. Recently I did something similar. I took 3 years of our Women's Business Club lunch bookings data across all the clubs in the UK, and we produced a little pie chart at the end analyzing the data, and it was incredibly revealing because the results were not at all what we expected, and really have allowed us to change our marketing methods and to grow and improve. For example, 33% of our Women's Business Club networking lunches were booked as a result of a referral. Now, that is fantastic because we haven't actually done anything to encourage referrals. So what that feedback is telling me is that there are people who are coming to the Women's Business Club, having a very positive experience and leaving and telling others about it and inviting them. So that's our biggest chunk of the pie, is referrals. So we can either say, great, this is working. We have to make sure we continue to provide this positive experience that people want to talk about and bring their friends to, or we could say, could we even get that piece of the pie bigger by proactively encouraging referrals and even rewarding referrals. And so this gives us 2 directions to go in, or maybe we want to go in both directions. The second biggest piece of the pie was internet. So a lot of our business was then coming in through internet searches. Now again, this is an area that up to this point we had not invested anything in. We hadn't done AdWords and we'd done minimal SEO. And so the fact that the second biggest piece of the pie was coming in through internet searches was very revealing to us again. These are not the results that we expected at all. I'll tell you why these results weren't expected, because we had spent nothing and invested nothing in those 2 big pieces of the pie. But the area that we had invested a lot of time and money in only resulted in 10% of our lunchtime bookings, and that was through Facebook. Now, we had done an awful lot of Facebook advertising, spent a lot of money, and invested a lot of time on social media, and yet the lunch bookings only resulted in 10% as a result of that. So we had to now decide if we are going to cut back on our Facebook advertising and social media activity, or are we going to change the message or improve how we use it to see how that piece of the pie will grow or shrink? And so, as you can see, this data from past sales is very revealing and left us with a few decisions to make. The best thing for us to do moving forward would be to work on one segment of the pie at a time to see if there's a change. Then we can really test and measure over the next year or 2 or 3 and see if investing in that area improves it, has no impact, or even just decreases. So these are the sorts of things that you can be doing in your business for market research. The aim with your market research is threefold. First of all, you want to find out who is and who is not giving you revenue. So take a good, long, hard look at your data and find out where the money is coming from, but equally where it's not coming from. Because if you can figure out why it's not coming from a particular sector, perhaps you can reposition your marketing or your message to try and reach that area where your revenue is not coming from. And also, if you find out who it's coming from, then perhaps you can even grow that market share. Perhaps you can even improve in that area and get even more of the same type of business. Secondly, you want to identify where you are losing business and where they're going to instead. So if they're not giving you revenue, where are they going to instead and why? And perhaps even get in touch with them and find out why they're going there instead of coming to you, and then adapt your marketing message accordingly. And thirdly, you start gaining new customers where you can satisfy their needs more than your competition can, and that's another aim. You want to start satisfying their needs more than your competitors, and this is really, really important. So you don't want to fight with your competitors on price necessarily, but perhaps on added value or on just being more interesting and likable. But whatever the case may be, you need to make sure that your market research will help you understand how you can gain new customers where you can satisfy their needs more than your competition can. Other things you might like to include in your survey are more generic questions such as age and gender and things like that, so you can really understand your target audience and so you can pitch your market according to those survey responses. You might also want to look for questions such as where do they eat, what do they do for entertainment or leisure, where do they shop, what's their favorite reading material, do they prefer reading the newspaper or getting their news online? And so you can really dig down and delve into your target audience and find out where your ideal customer actually spends their time and money, so that you know exactly where you're going to be pitching your marketing to. So for example, if your target audience are actually shopping at Primark and you are pitching at Marks and Spencer, you're going to miss your target audience entirely. It's really important to understand that if your demographic are the sorts of people who need to be doing budget shopping, they don't want to spend money on clothing, so they do go to the budget retailers, that it's very important that you're offering an affordable product or service that's appealing to that target audience, and that you're pitching in that specific area where they are going to anyway. Things like vouchers, 2 for 1, and things like that would appeal to that sort of target audience. However, if you're going for luxury, the luxury market, and your prices are exclusive and expensive, then pitching to people who would shop in budget retailers is not going to work either, because it's just completely and utterly out of their league. So what you may want to do is advertise in a Marks and Spencer publication, because that's where your target audience is. Or you may want to go to particular events that are quite expensive with their entry, because you know that your target audience can afford those events, and so they will be there. So can you see why it's really important to understand even the basic things in your market research, understand where people are already spending your money, where your target audience are already spending their money, what your target audience are reading, what your target audience do for leisure. These things are all relevant, and when you have that information, you can very easily form a marketing plan, a marketing strategy, and pitch spot on with absolute accuracy to the place where your target audience are. Let's talk about matching pains and solutions, problems and solutions. Let's look at really meeting a need is solving a problem as opposed to just hard selling to people who it may not even be relevant to. The best way to do your marketing is from the angle of helping. People don't resist help. If they need help, they will swarm to you if you can help them in that area that they need help with. So that's the perfect way to pitch your marketing, in that they have pains, you have solutions, it's a no-brainer. If you have a real problem, I think we discussed it yesterday, didn't we? The whole cancer analogy. People need to really identify their problem with your solution, and that's really, really important. So we have a little acrostic that I came up with that says ask. So you ask, you seek, and you know. And so that's kind of what the acrostic stands for. And the way it works is, first of all, the best way to find out their pain is to simply ask them. Talk to people, conduct your market research, but ask them, what is your pain? And obviously, depending on your product or service or your business, you'll pitch it more specifically to really delve into what their pain points are. Ask questions like, what keeps you awake at night? Many of us wake up in the night in a cold sweat sometimes, like worried about something or freaked out about something, or just, you know what it's like, the middle of the night, worry is always amplified. So just ask people, what keeps you awake at night? You could ask them specifically what keeps you awake at night in regards to your business or health, or whatever the case may be. You can pitch it very specifically. Or you can find other very key ways to ask questions that will reveal their pain points. The great thing about marketing from pain to solution is that your leads are going to come in qualified. You're not going to have to go out there and ask every single person under the sun. You're just going to ask the right questions, and the people who respond will come to you pre-qualified. And so you're then building your database with qualified leads so that when you offer them the solution, it's a no-brainer. The S in Seek is you can do your internet research. You can find the information. Go out there and find out what people are struggling with. Again, you can look at your statistics from your market research, but you can put everything that we've discussed previously into this little acrostic of ask. So seek. Make it your mission, your obsession to find out what your target audience pain points are. And then, of course, no. The reason I say no is because there's a reason why you started your business in the first place. And that was probably because you had a pain point. You understand it. And your business was born out of that place of really trying to solve that problem. And in many cases, a business is born out of that. And so you really know, you understand, you empathize with their pain because you've been through it. You know. And so never forget what you know. Never forget why you started. It's very, very revealing if you go back to that place of why you started your business and ensure that your marketing is still consistent with your why. Why you started is still in your business, because that is what will make your marketing authentic. That is what will make people feel attracted to you, because they will see that you get it. You understand their pain. And so when you offer them a solution, it won't be like you're trying to sell to them. It will genuinely feel like you're trying to help them. And yes, there's a price tag because it's a business, but really, if you can solve their problem, there's no price tag that's too high. They will find the money because you are taking away their problem. So what you need to do now is you need to go to your business plan template, and you will see several boxes in there where you can identify your ideal customers, their pain points, and then the message that you will write to each one of them. Ideally, what you would like to end up with today is clear customer profiles. 2 or 3 is probably a really good number, but it all depends on your business and your products and services. But let's just use that as an average, all right? So you want to create, let's say 3 very clear customer profiles. In the Women's Business Club, we call them avatars, because we have very cute little cartoony pictures for each one, and we have 3 of them where we describe them. We describe some of their possible pain points, and then we tell them what we can do at the Women's Business Club and why they should come to us. And so when people go to our website, they quickly see our avatars and they can self-select. They can decide if we can solve a problem for them or if we are what they're looking for. By the time they get in touch with us, they've already self-selected. So we know that they are our target market. Our customer profile is right out there for them to decide, for them to choose. So by communicating our customer profile, our avatar on our website, we are letting that do all the work for us. So the example for us is we have Small Business Betty, we have Ambitious Abby, and we have Executive Ellie. We have 3 very different types of businesswomen. They're at different stages of their business and their needs are very different. Now, does that mean anybody outside of that kind of profile can't come? Of course not. Anyone can come. If they want to come, if what we offer will help them, they're very welcome to come. But we can't do our marketing in that way, can we? We are specialists and we are wanting particular people to find us. Small Business Betty tends to be a woman who works from home because she has small children and she doesn't want to go to work. She doesn't want to be chained to a desk. She wants to have the flexibility and freedom of being available to her children whilst also running a small business, because she doesn't want to give up work entirely. She'd like a little bit of extra money to come in, and possibly when the children go back to school, then she can build her business a bit more and grow it into a bigger business. Small Business Betty can get lonely at times because she works from home and her business is growing and her children's needs are growing. She finds that she often gets trapped at home and is feeling isolated. Social media is great, but she really misses that human interaction. So Small Business Betty really should come along to the Women's Business Club for some face-to-face time with other businesswomen who are in a similar position to her. She can come to the Women's Business Club and feel comfortable and at home amongst 20 other women who are in similar positions. Small Business Betty also might feel completely overwhelmed because she has to not only make the tea, do the bookkeeping, update the website, do the marketing, do the sales, you name it. You know how long the list can be. She has to do all of those things, and then she still has to find the time to do the shopping, do the cooking, do the housework, etc., etc. And at times, Small Business Betty feels really overwhelmed. She feels stuck at home, she feels alone, and she feels like she just can't cope. But when she comes to the Women's Business Club, she meets like-minded business owners who offer complementary services to hers, and very quickly she discovers that she doesn't have to do it all alone. In fact, she's just met Sally, who is a small business bookkeeper, and she can confidently hand over a bookkeeping to Small Business Sally, so that's one less thing that she has to cope with. She's really, really excited because it's not going to cost a fortune for her, and as her business grows, so Sally can then increase her workload and budget accordingly. So it's fantastic. Small Business Betty is so happy that she came to the Women's Business Club because now she feels like she's not alone and she doesn't have to figure it out all for herself. Can you see how my customer profile has just identified with Small Business Betty's pain and attracted her to us, because now she realizes that we have some solutions for some of her pains, and so she's over the moon because she's found us. And that's often the kind of feedback I get from women, business women. I'm so glad I found you. Especially the Small Business Betties. It's like we're a breath of fresh air, and suddenly everything's changed because they now have found a solution for some of their pain points. Can we solve all of their pains? No, of course not, because they might have a shoulder ache and we don't offer massage. But definitely we have taken away some of her pain, and she can meet somebody in the club who does do massage and then can release her stiff shoulder, thereby solving another pain point, right? Just a small example of a very detailed and specific customer profile. Now, where does Small Business Betty hang out? We already have that sussed as well, because we understand where women like her hang out. Then we have Corporate Candace, Ambitious Abby and Executive Ellie. I'm not going to tell you the details of them. I think it's quite self-explanatory in many ways, but they have different needs, they hang out at different places, and we will solve different pains for them. We will take away different problems for them according to their needs. But they will also self-select when they read the profile on the website and realize, oh, I didn't know I'm Executive Ellie, I'm employed, I'm not self-employed, but I'm still welcome to the Women's Business Club, and they do still meet some of my needs, which is fantastic. And so really understanding your customer, creating a clear customer profile, and then communicating it is exactly what you need to do to be effective in your marketing.